Hello and what's up YouTube? In this video, I will show you how I restore this old Yamaha DT125 forks. The inner tube is severely pitted and has to be replaced, along with the fork seals and other bits. The triple tree and most of the forks components are still okay. The first thing I want to do is to loosen the top bolt cap. For that we will need a big hex key, but I don't have one. Instead I used a bolt with the correct hex size. My particular model require a 14mm hex key, and conveniently, the bolts on the top triple clamp is 14mm. So I just do a double nut and use this bolt as a makeshift hex key wrench. I only want to loosen the bolt cap at this point, not completely remove it. Next, I loosen the bolt at the bottom of each forks. The wheel axle keeps the outer tube from rotating, so you can loosen the bolt easily. You have to do this while the springs are still inside, because there needs to be something pushing the damper tube to loosen this bolt. With the top and bottom bolts loosened but not removed, I go ahead and disassemble the triple tree assembly. You see me use a piece of wood with a hammer to push the triple clamp out, so that I will not dent the metal parts. The previous owner of this forks applied a sticker to hide the rust, so I have to remove that before I can slide the forks out. I used a chisel to gently tap the clamps to open it up. This forks has been in the junk shop for years when I found it, and the forks did not came out easy. With some persuasion and a lots of penetrating oil, I was able to slide the forks out of the clamps. Now I want to completely remove the bolt at the bottom and drain some of the oil out. Then, I will completely remove the top cap bolt using my makeshift hex key wrench. The spring inside is constantly pushing this part, so be aware that parts could fly out. I tried my best to hold it while loosening the bolt, but still not able to keep it from flying out. So be careful and position it such that it will not hit you and the parts will not get lost. With the top cap bolt removed, I then took the spring out and drained any remaining oil out. Then pull to separate the inner and outer fork tubes. Be aware that there is a small brass gasket at the bottom, so make sure you not get it lost. I will use a pick to remove the fork seal clip. I just made this pick out of old wheel spoke. You can see that there is a groove where the clip sits into. The pick with the help of a small flat screwdriver easily removes the clip. This clip is very rusty, but I think it can still do its job. After a clip is a washer just before we get into the fork seal. I usually use a tire lever to pry out these type of fork seals. But this one is not coming out easily. So I have to try different trick. The fork seal has a metal part, and that is where I attach a small drywall screw. With the screw attached, I now have better hold on the seal to pull it out. You can see that this seal is too old and the rubber bits are disintegrated. There is a slide bushing still inside the outer tube, but do not usually need replacements, so I will not mess with that. I will be repainting these parts, and I use a paint stripper to remove the old paint. I then use a wire brush and running water to wash the old paint out. As for the internal parts of the forks, I use diesel and later soap and water for cleaning. The damper rod had a bore and small holes, so make sure those are clean. The opening of the outer tube that will accept the fork seal must be completely clean. So here are all the parts, clean and dry, ready for painting and final assembly. And these are the new replacement parts one bought for this job. These are the new fork seals. These are new rubber plugs for the top bolt cap. These are the rubber boots or gaiters specific for this model. There are universal rubber boots out there, but it is nice if you can get the one really made for your bike model for a perfect fit. You can see here that the rubber boot has a protrusion that fits the corresponding groove in the outer tube, resulting in a perfect fit. And the most important part of all is these new aftermarket inner fork tubes. The old fork tubes are badly pitted and cannot be saved. Now I'm going through the assembly. First, inspect that all the parts are clean. I apply some oil where I will slide the fork seals in. Make sure the spring side of the seal is facing down. I used a piece of PVC fitting to drive the oil seal to its seat. It is important not to damage the inner surface of the seal, so you only want to push it on the sides. Make sure the seal is completely driven in and the groove for the clip is exposed. After that, I reinstall the washer and the clip. I make sure everything is in place, and then I install the dust seal. Then I insert the damper rod to the inner tube. Don't forget that small spring. The damper rod has to go past the hole in the bottom and install the taper spindle. I inserted the fork spring so that it can push on the damper rod inside, and I sew in the bolt at the bottom only hand tight. I will tighten it more later. I use 250 milliliters of low viscosity motor oil on each fork leg and work the forks up and down a few times to remove any air. Then I reinsert the spring, the small washer, and spacer ready to close the top cap. You have to compress the spring when attaching the top cap bolt. I rest the fork in the floor so that I can push on it while turning the bolt cap in. Then I use my makeshift hex key to tighten and finally install the rubber plug. I installed the rubber boots or gaiters, and you can see that it is a good fit to the groove on the outer tube. Then the rest is just reassembling the forks to the triple clamp. I changed all the bolts in the triple clamp as well. That is all, and I hope you find this video helpful, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.